Joe Biden's Struggles and Life Journey Chapter 1, Humble Beginnings. Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. was born on November 20, 1942, in Scranton, Pennsylvania, into a modest Irish Catholic family. His father, Joseph Sr., worked hard to provide for the family but faced financial struggles during Joe's early years. Joe learned resilience and empathy from his parents, who instilled in him the values of hard work, humility, and perseverance. These values would shape his outlook on life and become the foundation of his future leadership. As a young boy, Joe faced a personal struggle that tested his character. He had a debilitating stutter. The stutter made him the subject of ridicule among his peers, and he often felt isolated. But Joe refused to let it define him. Practicing tirelessly in front of a mirror, reciting poetry, and memorizing speeches, he gradually overcame the challenge. The experience taught him the importance of perseverance and empathy for others who face adversity. Joe's family moved to Delaware when he was a teenager, and it was there that his leadership qualities began to shine. He excelled in sports, particularly football, and was admired for his determination on and off the field. His coaches and peers noted his ability to inspire others, a trait that would later define his political career. Despite his modest background, Joe had big dreams of making a difference in the world. In high school, Joe's passion for public speaking and leadership blossomed. Inspired by the civil rights movement and the promise of American ideals, he developed a deep sense of justice and fairness. He wanted to become a voice for those who couldn't speak for themselves, a mission that would guide his life's work. He often spoke about the dignity of hard work, a value he learned from his father. Joe's upbringing in a close-knit family taught him the importance of love and resilience. His mother, Catherine, often told him, "Joey, remember, nobody is better than you, but you're no better than anyone else." These words became his guiding principle, shaping his approach to leadership and service. Little did he know, the struggles he endured in his early years would prepare him for the challenges that lay ahead. Chapter 2, Dreams and Determination. Joe Biden attended the University of Delaware, where he majored in history and political science. He wasn't the top student, but his charisma and ability to connect with people set him apart. During his college years, Joe became increasingly passionate about civil rights and social justice. He believed that the government should be a force for good, addressing inequality and giving everyone a fair shot at success. It was during his college years that Joe met Nelia Hunter, the love of his life. Nelia was intelligent, kind, and shared Joe's passion for public service. The two fell deeply in love and got married after Joe graduated from law school at Syracuse University. Nelia became Joe's rock, supporting his dreams of entering politics and making a difference. Together, they built a life filled with love, hope, and a shared commitment to public service. After finishing law school, Joe began practicing law in Delaware. But his heart was set on politics. At just 29 years old, Joe decided to run for the U.S. Senate. It was an audacious move for someone so young and relatively unknown, but Joe believed he could bring fresh ideas and energy to Washington. His campaign was built on a promise to fight for working-class families like his own. Joe's grassroots campaign gained momentum, and against all odds, he defeated a seasoned incumbent. In 1972, Joe Biden became one of the youngest people ever elected to the U.S. Senate. His victory was a testament to his determination and ability to connect with ordinary Americans. Joe often said, "I may not be the smartest person in the room, but I'll always work harder than anyone else." Joe's success in politics was a reflection of his belief in the power of perseverance and the importance of fighting for what's right. But just as his career was taking off, tragedy struck, testing his faith and resilience in unimaginable ways. Chapter 3: The Loss of a Family. As Joe prepared to take office as a senator, his world was shattered by a devastating tragedy. Just weeks after his election, his wife Nelia and their 1-year-old daughter Naomi were killed in a car accident while Christmas shopping. Joe's 2 young sons, Bo and Hunter, were seriously injured but survived. The loss was a crushing blow that left Joe questioning everything he believed in. Overwhelmed by grief, Joe considered resigning from the Senate to focus on his sons. He was consumed by guilt and sorrow, unsure if he could carry on. But it was his family and friends who encouraged him to continue. His sister, Valerie, stepped in to help raise Bo and Hunter, and Joe realized that his sons needed him to be strong. They became his reason to keep going, even in the darkest of times. Joe began commuting daily by train from Delaware to Washington, a practice he would continue for decades. This allowed him to spend as much time as possible with his sons while fulfilling his duties as a senator. The long train rides became a symbol of his commitment to both his family and his constituents. "Family always comes first," Joe often said, a belief that guided his decisions throughout his life. The tragedy shaped Joe's approach to politics, making him more empathetic and determined to fight for policies that supported families and children. He became a vocal advocate for healthcare reform, education, and crime prevention. His ability to connect with people on a deeply personal level made him a respected figure in the Senate. Joe's resilience in the face of unimaginable loss inspired many. He often spoke about the importance of finding purpose in pain, a lesson he learned through his own struggles. "Grief doesn't disappear," he said. "But it can give you a deeper understanding of what really matters in life." Chapter 4: Rising Through Adversity. Joe Biden's commitment to public service grew stronger as he navigated the challenges of balancing his personal life with his political career. In the Senate, he gained respect for his ability to work across party lines, focusing on bipartisan solutions to pressing issues. He became a key voice in areas such as foreign policy, criminal justice reform, and violence against women, sponsoring the landmark Violence Against Women Act in 1994. Despite his professional success, Joe's personal life remained deeply intertwined with his sense of purpose. His sons, Bo and Hunter, were his guiding lights. He often shared stories of their resilience and humor, drawing strength from their presence. Joe met Jill Jacobs, a teacher, and fell in love again. Jill brought new hope and stability to his life, becoming a devoted stepmother to Bo and Hunter. They married in 1977, and Jill became a partner in Joe's mission to make a difference. As a senator, Joe became known for his foreign policy expertise, serving as chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. He was a strong advocate for international cooperation, believing that the United States had a responsibility to lead with diplomacy and values. His work included promoting peace in the Balkans, addressing nuclear proliferation, and supporting international development efforts. Joe's ability to connect with people on a personal level was one of his greatest strengths. Whether speaking to world leaders or everyday Americans, he had a way of making people feel seen and heard. His speeches often focused on unity and hope, emphasizing the idea that America could overcome its divisions by working together. Throughout his career, Joe faced criticism and setbacks, but he always approached challenges with a sense of humor and humility. "Failure is not falling down," he often said. "It's refusing to get back up." His resilience became a defining trait, inspiring others to persevere in their own struggles. Chapter 5, A Personal Loss and a Public Role. In 2008, Joe Biden was selected as Barack Obama's running mate in the presidential election. It was a historic campaign that emphasized hope and change. As vice presidential candidate, Joe brought decades of experience and a personal story of resilience that resonated with voters. Together, Obama and Biden formed a partnership built on mutual respect and shared values. The Obama-Biden ticket won the election, and Joe became the 47th Vice President of the United States. His role was both supportive and substantive, as he worked closely with President Obama on major initiatives like the Affordable Care Act, the economic recovery following the Great Recession, and foreign policy matters. Joe's ability to build relationships in Congress was instrumental in advancing key legislation. One of the most memorable moments of the Obama presidency was his eulogy for Senator Ted Kennedy, where Joe's words about loss and perseverance struck a chord with the nation. "It's not about how many times you get knocked down," he said, echoing a theme central to his own life. "It's about how many times you get back up." During the Obama years, Joe faced another personal tragedy that tested his resilience. In 2015, his beloved son Beau died of brain cancer at the age of 46. The loss was devastating for Joe and his family, but it also deepened his empathy for others facing loss. He often spoke about Beau's legacy, describing him as the embodiment of integrity and courage. Beau's death almost led Joe to retire from public life, but his family encouraged him to continue. "Beau wouldn't want you to quit," Jill reminded him. Joe chose to honor Beau's memory by continuing to fight for the values they both held dear. He became an advocate for cancer research, launching the Biden Cancer Initiative to improve treatments and support for families affected by the disease. Chapter 6, Returning to the Arena. After leaving the vice presidency in 2017, Joe Biden focused on family and advocacy work, but he couldn't ignore the growing divisions in the country. The political climate had become increasingly polarized, and Joe felt a deep sense of responsibility to help bridge the divide. Encouraged by supporters and loved ones, he decided to run for president in the 2020 election. Joe's campaign was centered on restoring the soul of the nation. He emphasized unity, compassion, and the importance of rebuilding trust in American institutions. His speeches often drew on his personal experiences, highlighting his belief in resilience and the power of collective action. "We're in a battle for the soul of America," he told crowds. "But I believe we can emerge stronger if we stand together." The 2020 election was unlike any other, dominated by the COVID-19 pandemic and widespread social unrest. Joe's approach was focused on empathy and science, promising a national strategy to combat the pandemic and rebuild the economy. His message resonated with many Americans who were looking for steady, compassionate leadership during uncertain times. Joe's campaign faced intense challenges, including criticism from opponents and misinformation spread online. But he remained focused on his vision, drawing strength from Jill, his children, and his supporters. His ability to connect with people's struggles and aspirations made him a relatable and inspiring candidate. In November 2020, Joe Biden was elected the 46th President of the United States, defeating incumbent Donald Trump. His victory was historic, marked by record voter turnout and the election of Kamala Harris as the first female vice president. For Joe, it was a testament to the resilience of democracy and the enduring belief in the power of hope. Chapter 7, Leading Through Crisis. Joe Biden took office on January 20, 2021, in the midst of one of the most challenging periods in American history. The COVID-19 pandemic had claimed hundreds of thousands of lives, the economy was in turmoil, and the nation was deeply divided. In his inaugural address, Joe called for unity and healing, urging Americans to work together to rebuild the country. "We must end this uncivil war that pits red against blue," he declared. One of Joe's first actions as president was implementing a comprehensive plan to address the pandemic. His administration focused on ramping up vaccine distribution, providing economic relief to struggling families, and supporting small businesses. Joe's steady leadership brought a sense of hope to many, even as challenges persisted. "Help is on the way," he promised, reassuring Americans that brighter days were ahead. The Biden administration also prioritized addressing racial inequality, climate change, and rebuilding international alliances. Joe rejoined the Paris Climate Agreement and worked to restore America's role on the global stage. His leadership emphasized diplomacy and cooperation, contrasting sharply with the isolationist policies of the previous administration. For Joe, these efforts were about restoring trust and demonstrating that America could lead with integrity. Despite these efforts, Joe faced fierce opposition from political opponents and skepticism from some Americans. The polarization that had defined recent years didn't disappear overnight, and Joe's calls for unity were met with both hope and doubt. Yet, he remained committed to his vision, believing that patience and persistence were key to overcoming the nation's challenges. Joe often drew on his own experiences of loss and resilience to inspire others. He spoke of Bo's memory and the lessons he had learned from tragedy, reminding Americans that even in the darkest times, there is always a path forward. His ability to connect on a personal level remained one of his greatest strengths as a leader. Chapter 8, A Voice for Unity. As Joe navigated the complexities of his presidency, he often reflected on the importance of listening to others. He believed that true leadership meant understanding the struggles and aspirations of everyday Americans. Whether visiting communities devastated by natural disasters or speaking with healthcare workers on the front lines of the pandemic, Joe made it a priority to connect with people on a human level. In moments of national crisis, Joe's speeches became rallying calls for unity and hope. He often quoted President Obama, whose words of inspiration had left a lasting impact. One of the most memorable moments came when Joe recited Obama's famous lines, "The arc of the moral universe may bend toward justice, but it doesn't bend on its own. It bends because of USA, because we put our hands on that arc and we pull it." The reaction to Joe's use of Obama's words was profound. Supporters saw it as a reminder of the shared values that unite Americans, while critics questioned whether the nation could truly come together. Joe acknowledged the skepticism but remained steadfast in his belief that unity was possible. "It's not easy, but it's necessary," he said. "We're stronger when we work together, even when we don't agree on everything." Joe's efforts to foster unity extended beyond words. His administration worked to pass bipartisan legislation, addressing infrastructure, healthcare, and education. While progress was slow, the accomplishments demonstrated that cooperation was still possible in a divided political landscape. Joe often said, "Compromise isn't weakness, it's how we get things done." For Joe, the struggle for unity was deeply personal. He saw it as a continuation of the lessons he had learned throughout his life, that perseverance, empathy, and faith in others could overcome even the greatest obstacles. His leadership became a testament to the enduring power of hope. Chapter 9, A Legacy of Service. As Joe's presidency continued, he focused on building a legacy rooted in service and compassion. He often spoke about the importance of leaving the world better than he found it, a value instilled in him by his parents. Whether addressing climate change, healthcare reform, or economic inequality, Joe approached every challenge with a sense of urgency and responsibility. One of Joe's most significant accomplishments was the passage of the Build Back Better Act, which invested in infrastructure, renewable energy, and social programs. The legislation aimed to create jobs, reduce emissions, and support working families. For Joe, it was a tangible way to address the issues he had championed throughout his career. "This is about giving every American a fair shot," he said. Joe's leadership style was defined by his ability to connect with people from all walks of life. He often visited schools, factories, and community centers, listening to the concerns of ordinary Americans. His empathy and authenticity resonated with many, reinforcing his reputation as a leader who truly cared about the people he served. Critics continued to challenge Joe's policies and decisions, but he remained focused on his vision for the country. He often reminded Americans that progress takes time and requires collective effort. "We're building a better future, step by step," he said. "And we'll get there if we keep moving forward together." Joe's presidency was not without its challenges, but his resilience and commitment to service left an indelible mark. He proved that even in the face of adversity, it was possible to lead with compassion, integrity, and hope. His journey became a testament to the power of perseverance and the enduring promise of the American dream. Chapter 10, The Moral of the Story. Joe Biden's life is a story of resilience, service, and hope. From his humble beginnings in Scranton to the highest office in the land, his journey was shaped by personal loss, professional challenges, and an unwavering belief in the power of empathy. His story offers valuable lessons for leaders and individuals alike. First, resilience is essential in overcoming adversity. Joe faced unimaginable losses, from the death of his first wife and daughter to the passing of his beloved son Beau. Yet, he chose to channel his grief into a deeper understanding of others' struggles, proving that pain can be transformed into purpose. Second, leadership requires humility and a willingness to listen. Joe's ability to connect with people on a personal level made him a trusted and relatable leader. He demonstrated that true leadership is not about power but about serving others and making a positive difference in their lives. Finally, unity is the key to progress. Joe's presidency was a testament to the belief that Americans are stronger together, even when they disagree. His efforts to foster cooperation and understanding remind us that building bridges is more important than winning arguments. Joe Biden's legacy is one of hope and determination. His life story serves as an inspiration to anyone facing challenges, proving that with perseverance, compassion, and a commitment to doing what's right, it's possible to overcome obstacles and create a better future for all.